Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm your host Sami Hijab and welcome to my live stream. Just now I'm going to do a reaction on a clip from the BBC where they interviewed the former Prime Minister of the occupier Israel, and also they interviewed a writer, a Palestinian writer that lives and is a resident in Gaza, from the BBC. Of course, we know the BBC, the mainstream media in general, are very biased towards Muslims, against Muslims, and they're Islamophobic, and they try to push their own agenda, and they always take one side in favor of the other side. Unfortunately, they're not a fair journalist or honest journalism. It's more of a hypocritical journalism. But here we just want to see an example of that hypocrisy, and also make comments and form an opinion in exactly what's actually going on here, the double standards in their journalism. So let's just watch it together, and then we'll make a comment at the end. So first of all, let me just adjust the camera. Let's just get that out of the way so we can see exactly what's going on, and then we'll just play the video.
And I want to be very clear. A home, a school, a hospital that hosts terrorists is not a home, is not a school, and is not a hospital. It's a terror base. And as such, if they're shooting rockets at us from there, we will retaliate back.
If you were still Israeli Prime Minister, would you recommend that Israel goes back in and takes control of Gaza? Now to Rafat Alari, who is a Palestinian writer and educator and resident of Gaza City. Welcome to you. Tell us what's happening where you are.
What's happening is that an Israeli official is inciting genocide against Palestinian natives in the Gaza Strip, and the BBC is feeding him thoughts, perhaps suggesting taking control over the Gaza Strip. This is what's going on. The Western mainstream media is being complicit, whitewashing Israeli crimes.
I think you'll find that there were questions, quite legitimate questions, to be asked of a former Israeli Prime Minister. I'd love to know what's happening there where you are, sir.
War criminal before me was suggesting bombing schools and homes and hospitals, and you said not a word to push back against that. Anyway,
he was talking about if there's Hamas militants in those buildings, I think, for clarification.
This preemptive attack by Palestinian resistance is legitimate and moral. This is exactly like the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. This is the Gaza Ghetto Uprising against 100 years of European and Zionist colonialism and occupation. Why do Palestinians have to pay the price for European racism and anti-Semitism and Nazism? We have been under occupation for over 75 years. The situation is extremely difficult in Gaza currently. We talk about more than 200 Palestinians killed, homes bombed, residential buildings bombed, ambulances bombed. We talk about more than 1,500 injured. This comes in a context of destruction and annihilation against Palestinians, not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank, in Jenin, in Hebron, in Nablus, in Jerusalem, against Muslims and Christians in occupied Jerusalem. So what's going on is that Palestinians expectedly reacted preemptively to Israeli terror, Israeli occupation. In March 2023, Israel killed several Palestinian leaders and said they were planning an attack against Israel. Well, Israel exists, the Israeli occupation exists, and the Palestinians have every right to react by all means possible, by all means necessary. And this is not easy for Palestinians. I want to use Hamlet's proverbial sea of troubles. We know Israel is going to kill us anyway. We are starving, we are being besieged, we are being dispossessed, we are being displaced. We know all of these. Israel is going to kill us anyway. Israel wants us kneeling, and Israel chooses to kill us when it wants to kill us. So why not fight back and die in dignity? This is the lesson that Israel and the West have to understand that you can't occupy people for about 100 years and not expect people to react to defend their very existence.
How much support does Hamas have there?
This is not about Hamas. If you frame this as Hamas, this is about 12 million Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Jerusalem.
It's not me framing this as Hamas. Hamas have launched these attacks on Israel.
That's an utter nonsense from the BBC presenter there. He's given her facts that the gentleman before was saying that he's ready to bomb schools, hospitals, which is something that's not new to the IDF. They've been killing children and innocent people, bombing high-rise buildings, killing in the hundreds, kidnapping people, raping women, causing destruction and all sorts of oppression against mankind, humans and others. And like I said before in previous podcasts, we all originated from Adam. We're all one family. We're all brothers and sisters, irrespective of your race, irrespective if you're an Arab, a Jew, a black, African, Chinese, Indian. It doesn't matter. We're all brothers and sisters. So why would the BBC be silent when a racist comes on and says, death to all the Arabs, or we're going to bomb schools and kill children and do this and that? He's inciting violence. Yet the BBC is silent about that and does not question it and just says, when are you going to do the invasion? As if to, kind of be in support of this statement that he's made, instead of holding him up on it and saying, well, are you going to bomb a school full of children, kill innocent children? Irrespective if there was a criminal amongst them or something like that, you kill everyone just to get to one person. And the one thing that is missed out in Western mainstream media is that this wasn't an uprising from Hamas or an organization or just any type of or any individual. It was all the people, all the Palestinians are sick and tired of being occupied. They want their God-given human rights. The right to dignity, respect, equal rights, survival. So when you starve people, you cut out water supply, you cut out all essentials for life. What do you expect? What do you expect other than people would rise up? All people want is health, safety, their right to work, right to live. And if you take that away, eventually there will be a backlash to your rule. There will be a backlash to your occupation, your invasion. It's only natural. If you start attacking even an animal, if there was just a peaceful dog just walking in a park, playing around in a park, and then you start throwing stones at that dog, don't you think that that dog will then eventually attack you? Of course he would. It's only natural. He's trying to defend himself. So if you try to attack someone and they fight back, you call him a terrorist? Is this your definition of a terrorist? Why don't you call the person that's attacked in the first place? Now, what Israel's been doing and what the IDF has been doing or what the settlers have been doing is pure, clear definition of terrorism. They've been terrorizing the native population of the country for the past 75 years. Almost 100 years of terrorizing people. Barging in people's homes, kidnapping children. Doing all sorts of sick stuff, sinister stuff to people. The native people of the land. Building a new country on top of their country and claiming that it was yours, when Israel only started about 50 years ago. It was created as a new country that was created, and the original plan was to create Israel in Uganda, take over Uganda and turn it into Israel and make it a Jewish state. So they hijacked an ethnic group, they hijacked a religious group, and they claim that they're creating this new country that is exclusively for a particular race. So you have to belong to a particular race to have the right to live, the right to water. What kind of a racist, racist group is that? They're racist. When someone tries to claim that they are a superior race than someone else, what are they doing? This is the very definition of racism. You're discriminating against other people when we all are humans. We're all from the human race. That means we're all equal, irrespective of our skin tone or our gender or our creed or our way of life. Everyone has that freedom to express themselves in any way they feel comfortable. We shouldn't discriminate against anyone. So why is the BBC discriminating against the Muslims? Why is the BBC so biased and not doing some fair journalism and being fair when they interview people? I'm not saying don't ask hard questions. Ask hard questions, but equally to both guests that you have. Don't be biased. Don't be a bunch of hypocrites. I know you're following your agenda. You're just listening to the boss. Your master's giving you orders. Read this script and you're just reading it. It may not make sense to you, but you should refuse because you're still a human. You're not a robot yet. It's not an AI presenter, so you can say, oh yeah, just the way it's coded. This is a human being. So this lady should respect herself. When she's doing an interview, she should have first respect to herself and not put herself in that situation where she's just reading a piece of text on the screen and being biased and interrogating the Muslim and not interrogating the other guests, not asking him hard questions, not holding him up for any racist or criminal incitement or hate incitement or incitement for violence. She should hold him up for that. Not continue and just encourage him and say, well, when are you going to do the invasion? When are you going to send in the troops to assassinate and annihilate and bomb Gaza and kill innocent civilians? And it wasn't Hamas that launched the attack. It was all the Palestinians. And of course, there's some sort of a false flag operation because it works in the interest of the Netanyahu government. So I'm very sure, I'm probably like 90% certain there is some sort of a foul play here where, it was all orchestrated from the Netanyahu far-right government. I believe he done it intentionally. It wasn't like a surprise attack. It was planned. It was planned and orchestrated in such a way that to make it look like, Hamas had the upper hand, and they always pushed forward this particular organization, Hamas, all the time. Yet it wasn't just Hamas. It was the other organizations, Al-Aqsa Brigade and so many other groups. They're all united for this particular assault. So we shouldn't be just saying those. It was the Palestinian people that rose up to claim back their land, to claim back their God-given human rights. They're fighting for clean water, which is what they've been denied. They're fighting back to get back their home, which was stolen from them. And some people, you have to understand, some of these people reacted in other ways, which is not acceptable. You cannot harm any civilian, any kind of civilian, irrespective if it's a civilian from the enemy side. You cannot harm any other human beings. But some people out there, they were seeking revenge. If someone that you know that harmed your family, and then now you get an opportunity and they're in front of you, they're on the ground, of course, you might lose your sanity and you might do something that is unacceptable, like harm that individual, instead of just detaining them. You might punch them, you might kick them, you might do something. Of course, this is not acceptable in Islam. In Islam, when someone says, I surrender, you can't kick them, you can't punch them, you can't do anything. You have to leave them in peace. Just take them, detain them, and let the legal framework deal with them through the legal system that you have. Not take your revenge on that particular criminal. So the settlers, they did crimes against the Palestinians. And some of these Palestinians, they've been harmed severely. They've been persecuted and harmed by the settlers, the armed settlers. So these are not innocent civilians. And let's make that clear. These people are armed. They're there as a terror group to cause terror amongst the civilians all over. And on many occasions, the guards of these towers, they've been using Palestinians in Gaza for no reason at all as target practice, as a joke. They might, just for pure entertainment, they might see someone crossing the road in Gaza and the sniper would just shoot them. He would shoot a tire in Gaza, flatten a tire and cause an accident. And that way they get entertained. And the Gazans never responded. And it all was swept under the carpet. And then once the Gazans rise up and resist and says no more oppression, you then call them terrorists and you associate every single Gazan as part of one organization. I'm sure the BBC have journalists that are more highly educated than this lady that's acting as a presenter. I'm sure they know the history. But they are basically making everyone blind and they're pushing an agenda because their masters are corrupt masters. They're not honest people. They're not sincere people. They don't want peace. They want violence. They want destruction. They want to reduce the world population. And especially they're targeting the blacks, the Asians, anyone that's non-white. Because they're trying to promote this superior white race only. So if you're too dark, you don't belong to live. You don't have the right to live. They wish for you to die. They want the worst for you. They're racist. The world is run by racists. The same people that spun off so many other racist, fascist groups. And from amongst them, the people that caused the Holocaust against the Jews. And who protected the Jews at the time? It was the Muslims. It was the Arabs. It was the people in North Africa, the Middle Eastern people. The same people that you're attacking today. These are the people that provided food, shelter, and security for the Jews when they've been persecuted. They defended the Jews against the people that were attacking them, the Christians, even before the Holocaust, way before, 1,000 years plus. And it was the Muslims that protected them. The golden age for the Jews was at the time under the Islamic Khilafah, the Islamic government. And not from the Muslims that are claiming that, is from the Jewish scholars, the historians. They've said the same thing. And that is why so many Jews also reject the state of Israel. Because they know it's a false state. It's an antichrist state. But all the Muppets out there, they just fall for anything. They think they're the chosen people and all this nonsense. God is not racist. Understand that. He would not discriminate against people. We're all created equal. And we have our good points and bad points. We have our positive and negative. I have advantages and disadvantages. And he distributed all the advantages and disadvantages amongst us all equally. And what he wants is for us to cooperate, complete each other, cooperate together to do good in the world. Not to cause harm, not to cause war, not to kill each other, but to build, not to destroy. But they have a different agenda. They have destruction in their mind. If they don't kill and rape and pillage and steal, they won't get a good night's sleep. That's how they work. And the BBC chooses the wrong side. Every time. The BBC always chooses the wrong side. It never stands up for justice. It never stands up for peace. They always choosing the wrong side. They're not doing any fair journalism here. It's very clear. It makes me sick and tired of listening to this trash that comes out of the BBC. Honestly, it's just complete trash. Bad journalism. The worst kind of journalism I've ever seen. And I've watched so many media outlets. I monitor them all. I'm always watching, trying to get any kind of benefit. But it's complete trash. You have to be a complete numpty to fall for the trash that comes out of the BBC nowadays. Honestly, it's just complete trash. That's all I can say. Let's continue watching.
Of course, yeah, and the attacks against military bases. Israel is using its third-class Jews in Kibbutzim near Gaza as human shields, and you have seen the videos. And you didn't also push back against that. Most of the captives were soldiers, some of them taken literally from inside their tanks. And some of them were kept safe because Palestinians wanted them to be safe, because Palestinians wanted the 5,000 Palestinians imprisoned, political prisoners in Israel, to be released in exchange. But the support here is popular, even from factions belonging to Fatah, Islamic Jihad, leftist factions. They participated in these preemptive, legitimate, and moral attacks against Israeli military posts, against Israeli tanks. You've seen the tanks, you've seen the Israeli military, and even the civilians, they were treated honorably, they were respected. There were videos of Palestinian freedom fighters telling those Israeli civilians that we're not going to kill you, although these are settlers living in populated areas. One of these Israeli villages, so-called villages, has land that belongs to my grandmother. She always would point and tell me that if we free Palestine, we will be rich. And I tell my grandmother, may God rest her soul now, that some of your neighbor's grandmother liberated these lands, maybe momentarily, but this is how the dream comes true in the future. Palestinians will keep fighting back. The Zionists, aided and abetted by the West, by Europe, by the United Kingdom, that presented Palestine on a silver platter to the Zionist movement 100 years. We will continue despite all genocidal acts by Israel. We will fight back, and if we die fighting.
Who funds Hamas?
I don't care. I don't know. I'm not Hamas. These.
Honestly, did she just ask that stupid, dumb question? I mean, he's given her all this info and facts, and the only question that she can think of is who funds Hamas. Who cares? It's not about Hamas here. It's about the rights and dignity of human beings. Why can't she understand that? He's telling her, you know, people stole his grandmother's land. He's trying to liberate. He's just a journalist. He's just another, you know, a right academic. He's not holding a gun or a weapon or anything like that. He's not the financer or the accountant. He's saying, oh, who finances this company? How would he know? Why are you asking him that stupid, silly question? It has nothing to do with it. He's just another human being. Why don't you respect him as a human being? Why don't you respect all Palestinians as human beings? Why do you have to side with the racist? Why do you have to side with the white supremacist? Why don't you get your facts before you start interviewing people? Why don't you read up on history? Find out exactly how Israel was formed. And Sykes-Picot, I can help the BBC out here. I mean, honestly, you know, they should get more educated people on their program, you know, as presenters, not as guests. Sometimes they get good guests, but they try to ask them silly, stupid questions, and they don't listen to the facts. And they try to blur the facts with this nonsense about who funds this and who's this and these people are terrorists. What kind of nonsense is this? What kind of nonsense journalism is this? Come on, grow up. Get some brain cells, BBC. You know, if you got so many stupid presenters like this, honestly, you're going down. It's not good for you. It's just bad reputation. People can see it through it. People are not as stupid as in the past. People are a bit more smarter. They're a bit more clued up. Only a few people from the old generation. They don't know the facts and stuff. You can play around with them with your, BS journalism. But the youth and people that are educated, highly educated, they can see this through this BS stuff that you are pushing out. So why don't you give the guy respect and ask him some really good questions? Understand exactly from their perspective. Understand what the Palestinians are going through. Look, be fair. I'm not telling you to take any side. Just ask people the same questions. He didn't say he was going to bomb schools. He didn't say that we Palestinians, we want to go and harm any other civilian. He didn't say that. He was saying to you that the Palestinians wanted to protect any hostages because they want to do a hostage swap. So it's for their interest that they look after the hostages. They feed them, clothe them, treat them well, to show them the beauty of Islam. Because that is what Islam teaches us. When there's conflict and there's hostages or prisoners of war, you have to treat them well. Feed them from what you eat. Clothe them with the clothes that you wear. Treat them well. So they can see the beauty of Islam. How respect, because they're human beings as well. Irrespective of once upon a time they had a gun. It doesn't matter if they were, once upon a time they were attacking. But now they're a captive. You have to treat them well. You have to treat them as equal because they're also a human being. So you have to treat them well. And that's what he was saying there. Why don't you take that as something positive? Why do you have to play around and twist things around and start asking them about things that are completely irrelevant to the topic here? Come on. I don't know what to tell you. Come on. Please respect yourself. Ask some decent questions. All right, let's continue.
Soldiers are the Hamas fighters and other Palestinian freedom fighters are modestly armed. If you've seen the weapons they're carrying, they have
fired
very little.
Thousands of rockets into Israel today and continue to do so. Where do you think those rockets come from?
They are homemade. I don't know. I'm not a Hamas spokesperson. You can ask any of them if you dare bring them right here.
Well, I'd happily talk to somebody from Hamas if they were willing to come on television and talk to us. Because the concern amongst many is that Iran actually funds Hamas and other prescribed terrorist organizations, Palestinian prescribed terrorist organizations, and they're actually using them for their own ends to foment problems in the Middle East, to try and prevent Israel making alliances with other Middle Eastern countries. What are your thoughts on that at all?
This has nothing to do with Iran. This is Palestine. This is Gaza that is defending itself. Anybody mentioning Iran is trying to make Palestinians look even more evil and justified.
The video, it was a short clip. Yeah, let me just adjust the camera. So yeah, you've heard it all. I've made comments as we was going on. Yeah, I'm disappointed in the BBC. They can't do any fair journalism. They're very biased. So I'm not very surprised because they do that with everything. They're always trying to paint anyone that did not fit that particular profile of blonde hair, blue eyes, East European. They're the enemy. They brush everything else aside. So they always side with someone who has the correct skin tone. If you don't have the correct skin tone, if you don't have the right genetics, sorry mate, we don't welcome you here. Borders are closed. You're not welcome. You're a refugee. We don't want you here. No welcome to anyone who's non-Ukrainian. But if you're Ukrainian, if you have blonde hair, if you've got blue eyes, please come. We welcome. Anyone's got a room, please house that person. He's one of us. And we'll pay you for it as well. And this also makes me sad because in the Muslim community, they don't support each other, unfortunately. In Islam, it teaches us that we're all humans and we should support each other. But in our Muslim community at the moment, they don't. Because they're always thinking in a selfish way. The majority at the moment They're thinking, what's in it for me? Is someone going to pay me to help this brother and sister out? That's what they think, because they're thinking about the materialistic thing. So we need to pick up the slack where the non-Muslims have left off. Because they're not going to support Muslims, because they hate Muslims, they hate Islam, they're Islamophobic, they're racist. I'm not talking about the citizens and civilians and people like us folk. I'm not talking about them. There are good people, even the non-Muslims, Christians, Jews. They're good people amongst them. I'm talking about the people that are in power. These are the people that I'm saying to you, they are racist. These are the people that are discriminating. They're Islamophobic. Like what's going on in France, for example. They first banned the niqab and then the hijab, then the way the women dress. You can't dress modestly anymore. You can't wear a long, skirt. You have to show some skin to fit in the society. You have to do this. You have to do that. They try to destroy the moral and social fabric of a society. It's a very sad reality. They're not just attacking the Muslims. They're attacking anyone that is decent, moral, upholding individual. They're taking away people's freedoms. They're attacking all human beings. It's an attack against humanity. And the only enemy that hates the human race the most is Satan, coming from the jinn race. And because he's the open enemy, he's got his slaves, his servants, that work and implement his plans. And these slaves, they enrich themselves by hoarding and exploiting others, promoting their agenda to depopulate the population, destroy the environment, cause corruption. They're just carrying out Satan's handiwork. That's all it is. So Zionism does not represent the Jews. Many Jews stand up against the Zionist state. It's a racist state. It was built on the foundation of racism. They were inspired by other racist groups. That's what inspired the founder of Zionism to create that group, to create his own superior race. And they even killed their own people that didn't agree with this kind of ideology, this racist ideology. And we shouldn't be dividing, on religious grounds or race grounds and stuff. We should be uniting. We should be cooperating, because that's the way that we can progress in life and benefit. Because each of us has our own strengths and weaknesses, and we have to complete each other. We have to do good on this planet. That is our purpose. This is why Allah created us. Allah created us to serve mankind, to look at the people that are less fortunate and help them up, to spread benefit, to learn knowledge and share knowledge. That's what the purpose of life is. Service to many leads to greatness. Why can't the BBC share positive messages, motivational messages, messages of inclusion, cooperation, peace? Why can't they spread that message? Why do they have to spread hate and violence? Why can't they, when someone on their show calls for violence and says we're going to bomb schools and hospitals and civilians, and it doesn't matter who they are, we'll kill them all? Why can't they hold them up for that? Why doesn't the whole world stand up? Why isn't there any Middle Eastern country leader stand up and say we're on the side of the Palestinians? Palestinians has the right to self-determination. Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. Why didn't any Middle Eastern leader do that? The president of Turkey, what does he say? Everyone have some self-restraint, cool down, because he has interest with the relationship with Israel. He's thinking about his profits for Turkey, the trade between them, cooperation of intelligence between the two countries. Why didn't the president of Egypt speak up, make a comment, and say what's going on is ludicrous, and we can't have this. This needs to stop. And Palestine has a right to defend itself. Palestinians are humans. They're our brothers. Why can't he make a statement like that? No one's asking him to bring in the military. Just make a statement. Make your statement clear. Like Joe Biden. Joe Biden's on the wrong side, but again, he's just a muppet. He doesn't know anything. He just gets a statement. He reads it out. He doesn't have enough brain cells to speak for himself. He just reads out a statement, and that's it. And he doesn't know what's good or bad because he's not in that state of mind. So you can't blame him. He's too old for this. He needs help. He needs help. People need to tell him to say this and that. And he's going through a lot of medical conditions. That's why he's not really focused. He's not at his best. Even when the press was asking him questions, he just walks off. He doesn't even answer any questions. Just walks off. He doesn't even know. So you feel sorry for the man. So we can't give him the benefit of the doubt. He's too old. He's an old man. He's not aware of anything. But the other leaders that might be a good state of mind, why can't they make a statement? Why can't they show their support for the Palestinians and other humans in this situation? Because first, these people are going to kill the Palestinians, carpet bomb Gaza, invade Gaza, kill innocent civilian children. 50% of the population of Gaza are children. They're going to kill all the children, all the women. That's what they're going to do. And then after they finish with Gaza, guess who's next? Egypt's next on the line. I can tell you, I will remind you tomorrow. Egypt's next. They'll do a preemptive strike on Egypt tomorrow after they finish with Gaza. So you say, oh, I don't have any problem with Israel now. The problem is with Gaza. Gaza's a different territory. It's my neighbor. My neighbor's getting robbed. I'll just ignore it. I don't want to intervene. I don't want to get involved. I don't want any harm to come to me. That's a very wrong attitude to have. Because once the criminals finish with your neighbor and kill all your neighbors and rob and pillage and do everything, they'll come to your property and they'll do the same attack on you because they will never stop because they're bloodthirsty. All they care about is destruction and occupation and spreading their false agenda and division between races and discriminating and spreading their racist ideology. So you'll be next. And after that, the next country and the next country, and they'll keep moving on like that. And if no one stands up to them and says to them, we're not going to go down on this fight. We're going to stand up. We're going to stand up for our brothers. We're going to stand up for our neighbors. We are united. If no one stands up to them, they'll continue. They'll continue their criminal offenses against people. They'll continue causing facade on the earth. So what the Palestinians have done is brave. They're real true men. These are the real top Gs. The top Gs that stand up, sacrifice their life to save others, to protect the men and women and the vulnerable, to defend their land. These are the real men. And those who are guarding the towers, they are the cowards. They are cowards because they've invaded someone else's land, someone else's property. They don't have any reason to be there. However, because this whole planet and everything around us belongs to God, God's the one that created it all. So we have all equal rights to coexist together anywhere else, all over the world. There shouldn't be any borders between countries, in fact. And we should welcome people. Everyone's our brothers and sisters. Egypt should open the borders and allow the Sudanese to enter and live and fend for themselves. You shouldn't border people up. Egypt should open up the border of Gaza and allow people to flow in and out as freely as because they have every right to every inch of Egypt, just like all the Egyptians that were born in Egypt have every right to live there as Egyptians, as an example. So the borders should be open. As long as you're a law-abiding citizen, welcome to the land. Live. No one's asking you to pay for them. They all fend for themselves, as long as they're law-abiding citizens. If someone breaks the law, they'll get incarcerated, they'll go to prison, they'll be punished for their crime. But if they're law-abiding citizens, why lock them? If someone's sick and they need to go to hospital, and there's a strain in the medical services in Gaza, why don't you open up the borders, allow some of the victims from the war to get out and get their treatment in Egypt, as an example? Why can't all the other countries open up the borders and allow, Palestinian refugees to enter? What's wrong with us? What is wrong with us? I'm not even criticizing the Western countries. I'm talking about, what about us? Our people. What about the Muslims? It's not about throwing some crumbs or a few pounds donations. That's not going to solve the problem. The problem is going to be solved when you change your attitude. You need to put yourself in their shoes. You need to have empathy. You need to go down and recognize the situation that they're going in, that they're in, and put yourself as if you're one of them and you're there and you're suffering. What would you do? What would you do if that was your mother, your sister, your daughter, your wife? What would you do? Would you go down? Would you run away and abandon them like a coward? What is wrong with the Ummah today? Why can't we unite and stand up against tyranny? What's the point in living without freedom? What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with the community in the Isle of Man even? Why can't we unite? Why can't we unite and cooperate and do something productive together, instead of individuals here and there sporadically doing something individually? Why do you have to live underground? Why can't you stand up and say we are proud to be Muslims? And the meaning of Islam is submission to the will of God. And God's asking us to be servants and beneficial to society. So we're here to serve you, all people, all community in the Isle of Man. We are here as Manx citizens, and we're here to serve you and serve all of mankind. Why can't you do that statements? Why are you buried underground and fear of everything? Your fear of your own shadows. I'm gonna switch on the lights because I think it's getting a bit dark. Yeah, it's almost Maghrib now. I've got 5 more minutes. So please, let's all cooperate together to do good in this world. Let's call for peace and respect everyone, irrespective. Because many Jews are Muslims. There are many Jews that reverted to Islam at the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Even before the Prophet Muhammad, they were Muslims. Because Islam started from the beginning of creation. Everybody that submitted their will to the will of God and worked to worship one true God and believed in the messenger that God sent. Moses, the declaration of faith, he was telling his followers to say, there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. And Musa, Rasulullah, Moses, the prophet of Allah, every single messenger, every single prophet that was sent to all the nations around the world, Allah sent a prophet and he told them that statement. That was the declaration of faith. But it's not just words, it's action. It has to go into your heart. But unfortunately, people nowadays, even if they profess to be Muslims, they worship money. And in a previous podcast, I shared an example of a sister, a Muslim sister that claims to be a Muslim, although she doesn't dress as a Muslim, she doesn't look like a Muslim, but let's just give her the benefit of the doubt. When I said to her, be God conscious, and she took that as offensive. When I said to her, forget about your publicity, forget about your fame, forget about making money from a charity, forget about that and do it for the sake of God. Help this other sister that's in need for the sake of God. Not for fame, not for people to call you and look at you as a kind person. Do it for Allah. And what did she say? She said, oh, this is too much. This is such an offensive thing. What kind of offense is by saying to someone, remember Allah, do it for Allah. Help this person, not for me, not for you, not for fame or fortune. Do it for the sake of God, and you get offended. Because she feels her intention is not sincere. And many people are like that. They do it for the camera. They do it for the publicity. They do it for the likes. For me, I don't care. Because every single penny that I make from social media is going fi sabilillah, for the sake of God, to help someone. Provide housing, food, support only. No penny is going to go into my pocket. The only way I make money is through my profession as a software engineer. That's the only way. Provide a service. Profit-making business, non-profit making organization. Separate. You don't set up a charity so you can make it as an income stream. You don't beg. You have to be self-sufficient. Just like Andrew Tate always says, work outside the matrix. You need to be free to be outside the matrix to survive. And you don't have to be like a billionaire to be working outside the matrix. You have to be self-sufficient, financially independent. So stop chasing money. Stop worshipping money. That's the weakness. That's how they can buy your belief. They can buy you out of your religion. They can buy your loyalty to your family. You know, people kill their own family. Why? Because of money. They fight over inheritance. Someone gives them money, they'll kill their own brother. If you pay them enough, they'll betray their country. They'll become traitors. If you pay them enough, because they worship money. They can't distinguish what's right or wrong. All they see right now is the green paper, the green buck, the dollars, the sterlings, the euros. That's all they see. Put a high price, they'll sell their soul. We can't be like that. We have to have confidence and belief in the Creator and submit our will totally to Allah. And I'm not saying that we're perfect. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Doesn't matter. You repent to God. You recognize your mistake. You recognize your faults. You recognize that you have challenges in your life that you need to overcome. Whether it's your health challenges or some addictions that you might have. And I don't mean just drugs addiction. Could be all sorts of addiction that takes your time away. You lose your time over nonsense. You watch entertainment for no reason that has no benefit to you, that doesn't make you grow or learn anything new. Why don't you substitute some of that time wasting stuff that you do, like watching some prank videos, and start watching some educational videos? Even if you watch videos on history, even, or anything else, it doesn't matter. Even how to cook something, or how to fix your house, or just learn something new every day. Make a plan that I want to learn something new, or create a YouTube channel. Just say I'm just going to share some of my experience in life. I'm going to talk about my journey, my travels. I'm traveling to this country and this is what I'm doing, and this is the culture that I've experienced, and learn about other people's cultures and so on, and share it with the world. Share it. Maybe someone is planning to travel to that particular country, and they might look at your video first to get like some sort of insight into a culture or a particular country before they make the trip. You're giving someone some guidance, and that you'll get a reward from the Creator for it, because you're giving guidance to people, something that's going to benefit others. So why don't you go out there and look for people that need support? Not the people that beg in the street. Most of them are fake, beggars. They've probably got more money than you, and they own a car, house, everything, and they're just sitting in the street begging. Just like those who set up charities in the name that they're helping a particular cause. Those that, attach the word Islam or halal to their business to make it more appealing to a certain group of people to get business. But really, their intention is just to get donations so they can put it in their saving account and earn interest on it. Shocking behavior that goes on within all the communities. And I'm talking about the Muslims because I belong to the Muslim community. That's why I'm talking about them, and I'm criticizing them in that sense. But it doesn't mean that only they do these bad things. And this is not from Islam. And I have to make it very clear. This is not what the Prophet taught us to do. Deceive people and abuse their trust to enrich ourselves. This is not from Islam. This is what gives Islam a bad name. We've gone far away from the methodology and the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings upon him. And I'm telling you right now, we need to go back to the source. We need to go back to the Quran. We need to go back to the prophetic sayings and his action, how he lived his life, how his companions interpreted and emulated the Prophet in his behavior and his character and his action and the way he does business, the way he does charity, the way he teaches, the way he learns, all these things, the way he exercises, diet, all these things. I've used the Islamic principles to do a diet. If people that don't know me, I was almost 130 kilograms. Today, I'm around 81 kilograms. In just a few months, in a matter of days, in fact, I lost a lot of weight. I became much healthier. Alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah for that, for the ability and the strength to do this. So this is not from me, but it's from Allah's will. Allah is the one that gave me that perseverance and the ability. But I always looked back in the Quran. I looked back in the example of the Prophet. How would the Prophet do a diet? What kind of exercise did they do? I tried to interpret and extract the correct diet to adopt. And I adopted fasting, which is something that we do in Ramadan. So let me fast for an extended period of time. But let me get into the right diet. Go without food, like the Muslims at a period of time went without food, and then a period of feeding. Fasting, feeding, fasting, feeding, but extended. All these strategies to remove anything that's toxic in your body, go through autophagy, clean up process. All these things are beneficial. Now I'm gonna have to stop here because it's time for Maghrib where I am. So thank you very much for listening and reaction to this video. I know I go on a little bit. I'm just trying to give you as much info and try to share it. I don't care if you like my videos or not, but I would appreciate any constructive criticism if I said anything wrong. If I said something that offends someone, let me know. Give me the facts, and I apologize in advance if I've offended you in some way. But I'm just telling you as it is, as what I believe, what I've seen, the experience that I've gone through. And I'm not a young man anymore. I'm not in my 20s or 30s. I'm late 40s now. I've gone and I've seen a lot, and I've interacted with all sorts of people. And I have a mixed race as well, so I cannot be racist because I don't just ethnically one group or ethnically another. I have diverse ethnic groups in my genetics, so I can relate to all sorts of people. I can't discriminate against the British because I'm British as well. I can't discriminate against the Egyptians because I'm also Egyptian. I can't discriminate against the Jews because also I have a percentage of ethnicity as well. So it's a mixed. So I'm speaking to you as a human being. And I see you as my brother and sister, irrespective of whatever race group that you belong to. You're still my brother and sister in humanity. And you're also a creation of God. So I have to look after you, I have to show kindness to you. But if you try to harm me, I have to defend myself. Just like everybody else has a right to do that. I can't seize your property, what's not mine. I can't just take something from you by force. I can't impose my way of life on you. There's no compulsion in religion. There's no compulsion in a way of life. I have to respect your way. You respect my way. Let me live my life how I choose. I let you live your life how you choose. This is the way we're supposed to live together. Let's cooperate. If you don't want to cooperate, fine. I wish you all success in whatever you're trying to do. And I sincerely wish for people to learn, or if I give any business ideas or I talk about something and you like it and you run with it and you do much better, I wish you with every atom of my heart more success. I wish you higher ranks in paradise than me. That doesn't matter. I'm prepared to let you stand on my shoulders to go even higher. I'll do whatever it takes because that's my obligation as a servant of Allah. Servant of Allah, I'm here to serve. I'm not here to step on people to get to my position. I'm here to serve you. And I hope someone out there does benefit, inshallah. If I can save one person or I can change someone's life to the better, just one, that is my purpose of life fulfilled. Just that one person. I'm not trying to save the whole world, just if I save one person, that's enough for me. So I hope this message does reach someone that does benefit. And I hope Allah takes everything that I do with the intention of a form of worship and me fulfilling my obligation. And now that reminds me, I have to go and fulfill my obligation as a Muslim and pray Maghrib prayer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and I hope you enjoyed this live stream, and bye bye for now.